ครับผมครับ One is now open.
That's the
That's
other
okay.
computer.
That's okay.
That's the John not talking to Zoom.
What you experienced yesterday is that there was a double sound. It's an accident. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Welcome. ברוכים הבאים. John. Thank you, guys. Shabbat Shalom, Boker Tov. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We will start our service, our Shacharit Shel Shabbat. Boker Tov to those that are joining us in Zoom, and Boker Tov to those that are joining us in YouTube and Facebook. Join us. From the beginning. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי, חי וקיים, שחסרת לי נשמתי, וחמלה רבה אמונתך. יאי די 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 די, יאי די די די, יאי די די די, יאי די די די. Boker Tov, good Shabbos. And as we enter this sanctuary, this virtual sanctuary and this physical sanctuary that we build together, we will turn our Sidurim to page 192. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. After recognizing the physical space that holds us, all of us together, we take a moment to recognize our personal space, our bodies. I invite you to turn your Sidurim to page 194 for the blessing, for the well-functioning of our bodies. העולם אשר יצר את אדם בחוכמה וברא בו נקבים נקבים חלולים חלולים. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly open or closed, it would be impossible to endure and to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. ברוך אתה, אדוני, רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. There is a beautiful idea behind the blessing for our souls. This idea that our souls are pure. We often feel so contaminated, so mixed with things that we don't even know what we want, or even worse, who we are. Every morning when we daven the blessing for our souls, there is a reminder that we can get back to a place, to a point in which we reconnect with ourselves. So I would like to invite you to think for a moment, what's the meaning of reset for you? What's the meaning of the pureness of your soul? What's the place, the state of mind that means cleanliness to you? That gives you the space to breathe. Try to visualize it and to think of it for a moment. And just before we recite the blessing for our souls, I invite you to take a deep breath. Elohai neshama shenatata bi te'ora hi. Soul you have given me is pure. We're on page 196. Elohai neshama shenatata bi te'ora hi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח כל בשר איש. We're on page 198 for Birkot HaShachar, the blessings for the daily miracles.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mighty ability to distinguish day from night.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given me free will.
Amen. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives Israel with strength.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen. And I noticed that I actually skipped one of the blessings. Of course, Mark, you did notice too. And it's particularly telling that who opens the eyes of the blind is the one that I skipped today. In Parashat Devarim, we'll talk about that later. We will recall the story of the spies, of those that didn't have the ability to see. We will talk about that ability of seeing, what they were supposed to see, what they could see and didn't, and why maybe this blessing is such an important one, not as a physical ability, but rather as an intellectual one, a spiritual one, the ability to see. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברים. Turn our sidurim to page 204. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה. O Adonai our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Baruch atah Adonai המלמד תורה לעמו Israel. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. These are the things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We will turn our sidurim to page 212 for the blessing for the Psukei de Simra, the verses of praise. ברוך האלוה, מקיים לנצח, ברוך פודה ומציל, ברוך הוא, ברוך שמו. היי 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 היי. Songs of praise, we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty. For you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praise and glorious ruler. Your name is eternal. מלך מעולם ותשבחות, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מעולם ותשבחות. מלך מהולל ותשבחות. We start the Psukei de Simra in Shabbat with Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. We are on page 214. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, יאללה ליי 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 ליי. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, 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 יא לי 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 צדקת עמי יפרח, כארץ בלבנון ישגב, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצות אלוהינו יפריחו,
עוד ינובון בשיבה, נשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולה תבוא.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, יא די 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 די. Happy are those who dwell in your house. אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יהללוך סלה. We are on page 215.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללו, עוד יהללוך סלם. תהילת לדוד, רוממך אלוהי המלך, והברכה שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יום אברכך והללה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, בגדולתו אין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך וגבורותיך יגידו.
אבל כבודותיך, בדברי נפלאותיך השיחה.
בזוז נורותיך יאמרו, גדולתך אספרנה.
שכר רטו בחייבהו, בצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדל חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, בגבולתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו, וכבוד הדר מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך ישברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעתו. פותח את ידיך, ומשביע לכל חי רצון. צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראוהו באמת.
רצון ירב יעשה, בית שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו, לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם. הללויה. page 218, Psalm 150. כל הנשמה, הללויה, 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 כל הנשמה, הללויה, 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 נשמת כל חי, תברך את שמך, אדוני אלוהינו, ברוח כל בשר, תפאר ותרומם זכרך מלכנו תמיד. מן העולם ועד עולם, אתה אל, אין לנו מלך אלא אתה. God of the first and the last, God of all creatures, master of all generations, who is praised in the multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness, and all creatures with mercy. Adonai neither slumbers nor sleeps. God awakens the sleeping, arouses those who slumber, gives speech to the mute, and God loosens the bonds of captives. God supports the fallen and strengthens those who are bent over. You alone do we acknowledge. On page 220, even if our mouths were full of song as the sea, and our tongues full of joy in countless waves, we could never find the words, the articulation for our experience of gratitude.
כנשרי שמיים ברגלינו קלות כילות. אילופינו מלא שיר הקיים ולשוננו רינה וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ברגלינו קלות כילות. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך ולברך את שמך מלכנו. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך ולברך את שמך מלך מלכי המלכים, מלך מלכי המלכים, מלך מלכי המלכים. נופלים מלא שיר הקיים ולשוננו רינה וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ברגלינו קלות כהילות. לפינו מלא שיר הקיים ולשוננו רינה וידינו פרוסות כנשרי שמיים ורגלינו קלות כהילות. זה דבר שכתוב, כל עצמותיי תאמרנה. Bless Adonai, O my soul, and let my inner being praise your holy name. O God, in the power of your strength, great in the glory of your name,
mighty forever, awesome in amazing deeds. The ruler who sits on a high and exalted throne. We're on page 222. שוכנת מרום בקדוש שמו, וכתוב רנו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה, בפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתבלש. ומקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, רינה יתפאר שמך מלכנו, בכל דור ודור, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. האל המלך הגדול, והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נאה, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שיושבח הלל ושמרה, עוש וממשלה, נצח גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, וברכות בהודעות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי שמרה, מלך אל חיי העולמים.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועל מה יברך ירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון וחיי לכל בית ישראל. מעגלה מעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמירה במבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהודר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשם בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה אמירה בעלמה, אמרו אמן.
As we turn for Baruch, we take a moment to acknowledge our community. We recognize that there are things that we cannot do alone. There are things for which we need a minyan, for which we need our community. We recognize that the unity of God is not found in uniformity, but rather in the diversity of our community, in the diversity of our minyan. And from that place, we rise for Baruch on page 246. Baruch et Adonai, Yadarai dai dai dai, Amevorach. Baruch Adonai, Amevorach, Leolam Ha'ed, dai 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 dai, Yadarai dai dai dai. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום, בורא את הכל. Creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashion all things. In mercy you illuminate the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness, you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you form them all, filling the earth with your creatures. We praise Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praise are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly light. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hameorot. There is this idea that before the Shema, we need to try to recognize things that make us feel loved. And our tradition has a very clear idea of what love means. Torah is a loving act from God, from our people, our legacies. Our legacies of love. The mitzvot. But we also read, Marabu masech Adonai, kulam bechokma asita. How numerous are your works, Adonai, in wisdom you form them all. And that is slightly less clear, not the mitzvot or Torah. It's an invitation for us to connect with things that awaken us a sense of awe, a sense of amazement. Before the Shema, we try to think of the world as a gift of our lives, as a gift. I can share that sometimes when I am in nature, and I see something that I'm amazed by, the first thing that comes to my mind is, Marabu masech Adonai, kulam bechokma asita. How numerous are your works, Adonai. And I don't know, a week ago, I was once again in Sedona, and the forest was closed, and I was so disappointed. So disappointed. I didn't go to Sedona to see the art galleries. They are lovely, and I love art galleries, but for the defined periods of time, I certainly can spend way more time in the forest. And the forest was closed. And all of a sudden, we saw that they were opening the forest. And I thought that it was very personal. I got a blink, it was for me. Those are the moments in which we say, Bishvili nivra olam, the world was created for me. That moment in which it was announced that the forest was opening, it was like, thank you. Thank you for hearing my prayers. And then we went to the forest, and we went once again to one of these beautiful trails, an easy one. And there's a moment in that trail in which you come out from an area filled with trees, and you see water, huge open space with beautiful rocks, and then you see the red rocks standing in front of you and the sun in the middle. It's and for a second time, I think to myself, this is probably what Bereshit looked like. All this conversation about Adam, that comes from the word Adom, red, and these red rocks. And the word dam, blood, also comes from the same shores, from the same root. Those moments of radical amazement that make us, help us feel that we are not alone in this world. That we can experience and witness beauty, that nature affect our hearts. Those are moments to take in and to feel loved by this world that was gifted to us. So I invite you to find in your archive one of those moments, to recognize your Sedona, your red rocks. That's what it makes it for me. And to think about those moments, those places, as a gift to your heart, as a gift to your soul. Enlighten our eyes to your Torah, not just the written one, but also the one of your creation, the one of your wonders. Help us connect with your world through your mitzvot, through acts that help us unite our hearts within ourselves and with each other. Guide us in peace from the four corners of the earth and lead us upright to our land. For you, O God, work wonders. You chose us. Truly, you drew us near to your great name, that we might acknowledge you, declaring you one in love. Praise be you, Adonai, who chooses your people Israel in love. Baruch atah Adonai, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. We're on page 232.
Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Adonai said to Moses as follows, speak to the Israelite people and instruct them to make for themselves fringes on the corners of their garments throughout the ages. Let them attach a cord of blue to the fringe at each corner. That shall be your fringe. Look at it and recall all the commandments of Adonai and observe them, so that you do not follow your heart and eyes in your lustful urge. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת ביציב באהוב בחביב, בנורא בדיר בטוב ביפה, דבר עשה עלינו לעולם בהד. God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out. Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. In great joy, Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel responded with song to you, all of them proclaiming, who is like you, O God, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. We are on page 240.
Ose, Fele,
נורא תהילות עושה ולשירה חדשה שירו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים שירה חדשה שירו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו והמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם בארץ מול ישראל אומה בעזרת ישראל תקראנו מלך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל די 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 אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וסוחר חסידי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהן למען שמו באהבה מלך חוסן ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם מסרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים צומח נופלים ברופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה למען אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים
שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשם ארם ככתוב על יד נביאך וכזה זה באמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו אדיר
לנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, בשפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. יש מחומותיך שומרי שבת, כולי עונג, יש בי, המסבר ויתמר ומטובך, תבוא בקשתך מלאת ימים, תקראת הזכר למעשה ולראשית. אלוהינו ולא יעודנו במותנו, רוצים לנוחתנו כד שלנו לסופר. לציון אלוהינו מלך ישראל, בתפארתם בת תקווה בית יהי רצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, אל קרוב לכל קרוב, פונה אל עבודך. אלוהינו שמך לציון, ברוך אתה אדוני לציון. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו ואמותינו ללמדך. שלום וברכה, לכם בחסד חכמים. Grant peace, goodness and blessing, grace, kindness and mercy to us and to all your people Israel. Bless us, our Creator, all of us together through the light of your presence. Truly, through the light of your presence. Adonai, our God, you gave us a Torah of life, the love of kindness, justice and blessing, mercy, life and peace. May you see fit to bless your people Israel at all times, at every hour, with your peace. At the bottom of page 260.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו our Sidurim to page 362 in order to start our Torah service. I'd like to invite Rabbi Miriam to take the Torah from the Ark. En kamocha ba'elohim Adonai ben kemaasecha
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוש לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך
שנתן תורה
תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש שמו. גדול אדוני איתי ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. Yalai dai 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 dai, 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 yalai dai 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 dai, yalai dai 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 dai, yalai dai 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 dai. Dai 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 dai. Adonai al ma'im ra'im, ay dai 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 dai, yalai dai 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 dai. Avol Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai be'adarat kodesh. All Adonai, Yahil Midbarach, Il Adonai Midbarach. Dai 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 dai, dai 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 dai, dai 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 dai, dai 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 dai, dai 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 dai. Yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good to see you. Good to see the regular faces, good to see some new faces. It's wonderful to be here in community to start this morning of Shabbat. Now, this is a very special Shabbat. This is one of those Shabbatot that has a name. You know what's the name of this Shabbos? Shabbat Chazon. Shabbat. You are all right. Now, Shabbat Chazon because the vision, the prophecy of Ishayahu, of Isaiah. It says Chazon, Ishayahu ben Amotz, Asher Huchad David, Huchad, the difficult, the terrible vision. We're talking about the ability to see, not just to see with our eyes, to see more as the idea of comprehension, the destruction of the
city of Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, for the first time. And there's something that I find particularly interesting in the third verse of the prophecy. It says, Israel lo yada, Ami lo yitbonen. Israel didn't know. They didn't know. And then they use the word itbonen. My people lo itbonen. Now, the translation says didn't work with, but the word litbonen comes from the word bina. Itbonenut comes from the word bina, understanding. So there's a question about what's the source to understanding? What's the source to the ability to understand, to the wisdom that help us prevent destruction and hatred? Of course, this Haftarah is fixed in the context of Tisha B'Av that we will commemorate tonight, in which we remember that our people was short-sighted, that we behaved with unjustified hatred toward each other, and that eventually led to the losing of our national home. So Job, the book of Job, says something about this ability of understanding. What's the source of understanding, the source of wisdom? Ask Job. Ma'u makom bina, the place of understanding. And he says, Tzur mira, refrain from doing evil. Now we know that also from the psalmist. Mi ha'ish hachafetz chaim, who is the human being who is in the search of life or a meaningful connection with this world. Tzur mira v'asetov. Refrain from evil, refrain from doing evil things, and do good things. And I think that Sefer Barim and the Deuteronomy, right at the beginning, suggest an additional idea. There's this popular story about the two frogs that fell into the barrel of milk. And they realized very quickly that this might be the last ride. And they start to swim, but they are swimming all the time in the same place. They can't move forward or backwards. They don't have the ability or the surface that will allow them to jump and go out. And so while they are swimming, the two of them, one of them says, Setu, this is enough for me. I am tired. This is difficult. I don't see the end. And he quits and drowns. The second one says, I don't see the end, but I can keep swimming. And so I'll keep swimming because I know I have the strength. And he swims and swims and swims. And what happens to milk once? It becomes butter. All of a sudden, the milk became butter. So he slid and jumped out and kept going with his life. Now, a similar thing happens in the story of the spies. Remember the 12 spies of the book of Numbers? Remember them? That they were sent to scout in the land of Israel. 10 of them come back saying, we are not going to make it, we are not going to have the ability to make it through. Two of them say, we can do it. We can work it out. Now, this Torah portion, Parashat Barim, in the context of the rebuke that Moses does, this story is reminded once again. And it is also reminded that all this generation, including Moses, won't make it to the promised land. But Caleb and Yefuneh, the Torah portion actually emphasizes Caleb. Yes, so the two spies are Yeshua and Caleb. But the Torah portion actually gives some credit to Caleb. But Caleb and Yefuneh will make it. And of course, Caleb and Yeshua. And so when we try to think once again about this story of the spies, 12 people, the 12 of them have the same story. The difference is that 10 of them are completely convinced that they don't have the ability to make it through. They don't have the vision. They didn't know. They didn't understand. And so they quit. And therefore the story ends up with them not making it into the promised land. The other two, they saw that there was a chance. They thought that they can make it based on their ability, based on their efforts. The only thing that they knew different was that they had the willingness to keep pushing, to keep walking. And I think that that is one of the most important things that we need to understand as we start the book of Barim, the last book of the Torah, and we start to prepare ourselves toward the high holidays. What ultimately will make a difference in terms of our ability to make it to the places where we want to be in our lives is our ability, is our determination to keep swimming, to keep pushing, even when we know that the circumstances are difficult, even when we don't know for how long we will need to swim, even when we are aware that in the land there are giants and very difficult challenges. Rakalatz miles aper yadati, says the poet. No, you just can't tell. I can tell just about myself. So say about yourself that you can keep swimming, even when you don't know how you're going to make it. Tell yourself and believe it that you can keep swimming and keep swimming. Don't quit. Because if you quit, you drown or you don't make it to the promised land. Now, if you keep swimming, there's no promise that you will make it to the promised land. But that's your best shot. Those are your best chances. And I want to say, going back to the word hason, the ability to see, to envision, that one of the ideas I learned from one of my rabbis is that you need to believe in order to see. You first believe, and then you see. And so as we remember Tisha B'Av, and we acknowledge the brokenness, the destruction, as we start our walk toward the high holidays and we think of our ability to do teshuvah, our ability to bring our lives to the places where we want to be, try to believe in where we want to be with the hope that we will eventually see those places. We will eventually be in those places. Shabbat Shalom. Let's get started with the reading of Parashat Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom. For the first aliyah, Yamod, Yamod, Gedalia ben Lipa Vishoshana, Gary Steinberg, and reading will be Mark Filowitz.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamborach.
Baed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Li'olam Voed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Natan Asher B'chabanu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael be'ever hayarden b'midbar ba'arava mosuv vein paran uvein tofel v'lavat v'hatzerot v'yad zachav Achar asa yom achorev derech har she'ad kedei berinea ve'yehi be'arbaim shana be'ashtei asar chodesh bechad lachodesh diber Moshe el bnei Yisrael Kichol asher tziva Adonai oto elechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu b'torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
For the second aliyah, Yamdu, Yamdu, Avraham ben Avraham Vasara, Esther bat Avraham Vasara, Owen and Teresa, and reading will be Rabbi Nico. Baruch Adonai
Baruch
Baruch
L'olam
L'olam
Va'ed.
Va'ed. Amen.
אחרי הכתוב את סיחון מלך המורי אשר יושב בחשבון בית אוג מלך הבשם אשר יושב באשתרוד באדרי בעבר הירדן בארץ מואב הואיל משה באר את התורה הסוד לאמור אדוני אלוהינו דיבר אלינו בחורב לאמור רב לכם שבט בהרסה. By the way, this is a beautiful idea. Moshe gets a call from God and God tells him, you need to tell them that they need to move on. They need to move forward. They have been sitting in this mountain for too long. So, also in the context of the preparation for the High Holidays, think about where you are sitting for too long and start moving forward. Who's the blessing? We need to unmute them. Abraham and Teresa, we cannot hear you yet. Here you go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. For the third aliyah, Malka Bat Horke, Ludmila Zerlin, and reading is Daphna Guterman.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. פנו שאו לכם ובואו האמורי ואל כל שכניו בערבה בהר בשפלה ובנגב ובחוף הים ארץ הכנעני והלבנון עד הנהר הגדול נהר פרת. ראה נתתי לפניכם את הארץ בואו רשו את הארץ אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לאברהם ליצחק ליעקב לתת להם ולזרעם אחריהם. ואומר אליכם בעת ההיא לאמור לא אוכל לבדי שאת אתכם.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי העולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
For the maftir, Yamod, Yekasiel Gabriel Ben Baruch Halevi Vitzurl Leah Nechuma. Steve Velasco, and reading will be Nitza Hennig.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Mevorach leolam va'ed.
Amen.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
עד אשר יניח אדוני לאחיכם ככם וירשו גם הם את הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיכם נותן להם בעבר הירדן ושבתם איש לירושתו אשר נתתי לכם ואת יהושע ציוויתי בעת ההיא לאמור עיניך הרואות את כל אשר עשה אדוני אלוהיכם לשני המלכים האלה כן יעשה אדוני לכל הממלכות אשר אתה עובר שמה לא תראום כי אדוני אלוהיכם הוא הנלחם לכם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
מי שברך אבותינו ואמותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה רבקה רחל ולאה, הוא יברך את כל אלה שעלו לתורה, בעבור שבת, בעבור הקהילה הקדושה שלנו. May the one who bless our ancestors will bless those who came up to the Torah in honor of God, Shabbat, Torah, and our community. May there be blessing, may they merit the blessing of the Holy One, protection, rescue from any trial or distress, and from any illness, minor or serious. May God send blessing to all of you in your endeavors, together with all Israel, and let us say Amen. Amen. We also take a moment while the Torah is open to acknowledge people that are dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls, people dealing with addictions. משברך אבותינו ואמותינו, אברהם יצחק ויעקב, שרה רבקה רחל ולאה. הוא יברך את החולים. May the one who bless our ancestors will bless those that are dealing with illness. And if you have a name that you like to share, please do so.
Rabbi Art Levine, Bush, Amartiel.
We invite also those that are connecting with us in Zoom and Facebook, YouTube, to share the names of those you are thinking of. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say,
Amen.
we wish to all of them רפואה שלמה והחלמה מהירה, a complete and a fast recovery. We will now turn our study to page 374. Please rise for Agba Anglilila. בסוד התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה על שלושה דברים על שלושה דברים על שלושה דברים העולם עומד על שלושה דברים על שלושה דברים על שלושה דברים העולם עומד על התורה ועל העבודה ועל המגילות השרים על התורה Return us to you, God, and we will return. Renew our days as in days of old. Help us not just return to you, but return to our own hearts. והשבותה אל לבביך. seated. We're about to say Kaddish. I will refer to this later today in the Havdalah for Tisha B'Av. We will gather at 7:30. We'll do a short study on Havdalah, and tomorrow we will be studying with the Adar Institute in New York. But for Argentinian Jews, Tisha B'Av since 1994 has gotten a very particular connotation. Is that in the 18th of the month of July, in the year 94, the Jewish Federation of Buenos Aires was bombed, and 85 people died. Remember, I was a child, and it was the first time that I actually understood what was the meaning of Tisha B'Av. As rabbis started to talk about what was happening to us, and that happened in Tisha B'Av, some of the rabbis started to say, well, the tragedies happened to our people during this time of the year. And I remember as a child, my dad was supposed to be in the Federation that day, and I was out of town in a trip with visiting friends, and I was glad to learn that my dad, for some reason, didn't go, and so he didn't make it on time to his meeting, and so he didn't die. But the hour 9:53 a.m. is still in the mind of many, many, many Argentinians. And I want to say Argentinians, because that happened in Argentinian territory. We often talk about anti-Zionism. Well, that was Iran through Hezbollah, and there is no doubt about that. It was Iran through Hezbollah attacking the Jewish Federation of Buenos Aires. So when people say, well, we are anti-Zionism, no. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. As we say always, you can disagree with the state of Israel, we can strongly criticize the state of Israel, but when you advocate for the disappearance of a state, well, and the Jewish state, well, that's anti-Semitism. And I remember in the media, one of the very famous TV hosts saying, not just Jews died here, many innocents died too. And we're appalled. But there was some dissonance at the beginning, and she retracted later on, and she was trying to say that not just Jews were killed, there was an attack to the Argentinian society, and it was. It was. But when I think of Tisha B'Av, and I think of the debris of the great temple, I think also of the debris of the Jewish Federation in Buenos Aires. We saw it. All the Jews were there. Many, many Jews were there. In images very similar to those that you saw coming from Florida for the last couple of weeks. Thousands of Jews, very well organized, were there trying to find fellow human beings that were under the debris, and we were able to, they were able, I was a child, to find many. But teenagers were in buildings, in Jewish buildings in the area, serving tea to the families that were waiting to see if their beloved ones would be found. And the work of the security in our community became rightfully obsessive. And there's something I learned from all this experience, and it's that even though security is important and we want to protect our physical existence, our integrity, what we hold within the walls of our buildings, is what matters most. What we do here every Saturday morning, our fight against anti-Semitism is important, but it matters just because we want to be who we are, because we want to keep the essence of who we are. Whether you daven, of course you need to be able to be a Jew in any context, but talking about what we really need to protect is what we do. And the essence of what we do, the essence of what we are, is what helps us build back more smartly, stronger, and with our eyes toward the future. I think that the Jewish community in Argentina is a vibrant community, and many of us were affected at the beginning, trying to engage in the efforts. All my generation, as teenagers, when we grew up, I was 11 years old, or 12 years old, and by that time, all of us became very, very mindful of the fact that the community needed to be protected. So we were all engaged in trying to protect the community for years. And I think that most of us learned that the external protection is important, but the one that helps us build back is the protection of our essence. And as we will commemorate tonight Tisha B'Av, I invite you to think about how we are going to protect, how we are going to build our essence, how we will come back from this spiritual exile by engaging in the difficult work of building our essence. And as we do so, I want to add, or to remind, before we head to Kaddish, the 85 victims, so the 85 that died. There are thousands of victims. There are thousands of lives that were destroyed that day in Argentina. I want to mention the 85 that were taken in the 18th of the month of July in 1994. We also acknowledge those that are during the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva. If you have a name that you'd like to share, please do so. When I say that, I mean to those that are physically here or those that are connecting with us virtually. If you're during the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, please rise. If you're during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise. If you have a yahrzeit this week, please rise. Now you can join us with your voice, with your heart, by standing or sitting for Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמה דברה חילותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תוש בחטא ונחמתה. תמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל. Imbru, amen. May the memories of your dear ones be always a blessing. May the memories of those that died in the terrorist attack to the Jewish Federation in Buenos Aires be always remembered. Okay. We are going now. Just to mention that at 7:30 we are gathering for Tisha B'Av, and tomorrow we are going to be studying with Mahon Adar. Next week we'll have services in our usual hours, and on Sunday, we have a wonderful gathering organized by the Sisterhood and the Men's Club. So we encourage you and invite you. Sunday. Next Sunday. Okay, well, we check that in the email. We will conclude our service on page, give me 1 second. Page 632. And they say that we need an extra blessing. It's wonderful to conclude our gatherings with a nadir. מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל, מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל. מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל, מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל. אין הדור כאדוני, אין ותיק כבן אברהם, אין זכה כתורה, בין חכמיה כישראל. מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל, מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל.
אין טהור כאדוני, ואין יחיד כבן אברהם, אין כבירה כתורה, ואין למדניה כישראל. מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל, מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל.
אין צודק כאדוני, ואין צדיק כבן אברהם, אין קדושה כתורה, בין תומכיה כישראל. מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל, מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל. May God bless us with the ability to envision, with the ability to believe in order to see. אדוני עוש לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. שבת שלום everyone. מפיהם יבורך כל ישראל. And I'd have a moment of connection. Before we disconnect No, here we're back. I just wanted to acknowledge those that are in Zoom. We can see your faces. It's so beautiful to see you. When Zach is not here, we don't have the ability to do the conversation part, but we're going to be doing that not next week, no, but the week after that, we're back into normal routine with all the abilities. So thank you for being here. We love you. We love seeing your faces. Thank you for participating. Shabbat Shalom Mevorach to all of you.